Hello and welcome to the Snickerdoodle Knits YouTube channel. I am Jessica, the knitting pattern designer behind Snickerdoodle Knits and the facilitator of the Design Circle. The Design Circle is a community for knit and crochet pattern designers that connects them with the resources and support that they need to grow their community. So this video, we are talking all about my latest pattern design, which is called In a Mood Shawl. So this idea all started with the idea of how fun would it be if you had a pattern that you could follow that would allow you to knit whatever you're in the mood for. So how many times have you had a pattern that you've been working and you kind of lose your mojo for it? You're not really interested in the stitch motif anymore. And so it gets pushed aside and maybe forgotten for a while. And so then you end up with all of these works in progress that are never finished. So the idea of this pattern is that you can change the stitch motifs however you want. You can change colors when you want. The only restriction is that they are 8-row repeats, so you have to complete that repeat for the most part before you can change. So inside of the shawl or the pattern, there are instructions for 4 different types of stitches. There's garter, there's this mesh, I call simple lace in the pattern. There's drop stitches. Here, I'll go ahead and show you closer up. So this is the lace. This is the drop stitches. And then we have, this is garter rib inside out. So garter rib actually looks like this, but with the stitches that I'm using in the shawl, I liked this side better. And then, yeah, that's all the stitches. So then you can play however you want with those 4 stitches. Stitch motifs, you don't have to use all of them. You can just use a couple if you'd like. And the idea is you just follow your mood. If you feel like knitting a whole bunch of garter, knit a whole bunch of garter, and then when you feel like changing, you can change. The pattern does also include, I have 8 design recommendations. If you're not really feeling like following your mood and you want a little bit of guidance, of course you can start that and then change your mind and decide to start knitting something else as well. But those are there in the pattern to help you if you feel like you're struggling a little bit. And then I also include the instructions to knit the same shawls that I created. So I have, this is an Aran weight sample that I knit up, and I have the instructions for that in the pattern, just telling you exactly what I did, so you can tell it's a bit different than the one that I'm wearing. And then I also have the instructions for this one. So this is an asymmetrical triangle knit from the tip, and then you're just increasing on one side until you get to your end down here. So I also have instructions for this. And the neat thing about this, especially with a shawl, is that it's super easy to use any yarn weight that you want. So inside the pattern I have gauge recommendations for fingering weight, DK weight, or Aran weight. And really you could use any weight that you want. Choose a gauge that you're really happy with, and you can make the shawl with any weight of yarn that you want. You can make it any size that you want, so you can choose when you want to end. Maybe you don't love big huge shawls as much as I do. That is my obsession with shawls. I want it nice and big and cozy and just like covers all of me. So you can end it whenever you want, and it's just extremely customizable. It's kind of a way that you can dip your toes into designing your own work without feeling like you have to start from scratch. And then this isn't finished yet, but once it is, it will be included in the pattern. So I'm recording this before the pattern release, and I kind of doubt that it will be done in time. But this is my fingering weight version. It's also a 2-color version, but it's a bit different than this one. So I've started with a lot more drop stitches here, gone into lace, but this version, the instructions for this will be in the pattern when I have completed the shawl, if you purchase it on Ravelry, if you purchase the pattern on Ravelry, you'll automatically get the update when I update it. So like you'll get a notification in Ravelry and in your email that pattern has been updated. So inside the pattern, it includes all of your instructions on how you follow your mood, how you use these stitches, but then it also, as I mentioned, it also includes the 8 different ways that you can combine the stitches in a way that is aesthetically pleasing if you're worried about what if it doesn't look right. And in those combinations, not all of them use all of the stitches. So if you're like, oh, I really want to use drop stitches in garter, there's a design for that. There's also a design for garter and your choice of another one for any of them. There are also a couple of design ideas for using all of the stitch motifs. So those are available for you, which I think will be really helpful. Let's see, what else is there? Basically, I just think it's so much fun. My testers have absolutely loved it. Just being able to choose where you go with your knit, you fall in love with it, and so you can follow. If you fall in love with a specific design, you can follow that, and you can still adjust it as you go. You can use as many colors as you want. You can change colors in the middle of a stitch section. So say you want to change your colors every 2 rows or something, like I did here, that it doesn't matter where you are in the repeat when you change colors, because the only reason the repeats matter is so that you have enough stitches especially when you're starting the lace section, and also to a certain extent the garter rib inside out. Inside the pattern, I also have schematics and things like that to help guide you through. I always include link tutorials to any techniques that might be new to you. So in the abbreviation section of the pattern, you can just click the abbreviation and you can watch the tutorial to learn how to do that. Let's see here, I have the pattern right here next to me on my computer. So let me see if I'm missing anything else, because I feel like it's been a while since I've recorded one of these videos. Usually, I'm talking all about what kind of yarn to use and everything, but it's so flexible. Of course, I love DK weight, so I'm obsessed with this one. I'm also loving these colors. But you can use one color of whatever of whatever weight you want to use. But where I was just remembered is that also in the pattern, I include approximated yarn requirements. So say you've decided you want to work a fingering weight shawl that is a small size, I include the dimensions for a small size in the pattern, but then I also tell you how much yarn you would need, and same for, say a DK weight in a medium size, so that you have an idea of how much yarn you're going to need before you go buy, say, 4 100-gram skeins of DK weight yarn and realize, oh, that's going to be a huge shawl. So for reference, this is 3 115-gram skeins of DK weight. Let me see, I should have the full yardage here too. I guess each skein had 250 yards, so I have 750 yards of DK weight yarn in this shawl. It is quite large and cozy, but that gives you a starting point. But I do have those yarn requirements inside of the pattern. I also have recommended needle sizes for each of those gauges: fingering weight, DK weight, and Aran weight, that I have in the pattern. And I have a whole page in there that is yarn equivalencies. So say you want to hold together a fingering weight and a sport weight, what size is that going to give you? So I list everything from lace weight up to creating a super bulky weight, and different combinations. What yarn weight does that equal? So that you have that information there and you can use that to then compare to the recommended gauges, recommended needle sizes, and recommended yarn quantities. Let's see. And then I don't do this in all of my patterns, but in this one I do have a chart that has all of the stitch counts for the end of each repeat. So it's 8, you're going to be working in 8-row repeats. And since this pattern isn't written so that you're following specifically a specific instruction, I guess, I don't have stitch counts for the whole shawl design. So I have a whole page that's basically a stitch count tracker. It tells you what the ending stitch count should be at the end of each of your 8-row repeats. And then you can just, you know, however you want to do it, cross it off or highlight it or check it or whatever to track where you are in your pattern, what repeat number you're on, and to check your stitch counts. And then we get into my recommendations for design options. And then I do show, when I have the designs that I have knit, I do show different ways to wear it and style it, different things like that. And I have all of the dimensions in the pattern for my finished objects. So I think that's everything. I do always also create a blog post that has recommend yarn color recommendations and alternative yarn recommendations. So what it is the first half of the blog post, I have yarn colors that I'm loving from the yarn dyer that I worked with. So this is Hand Dyed Diva. They're local to me. They also have a yarn shop called Cheers to You. I've actually designed this for their birthday celebration this coming weekend as of when I'm recording this. So that's when the pattern is releasing. But so yes, it's Hand Dyed Diva yarn, and so the first half of that blog post will have color recommendations that I have for putting together to create your shawl. So it could be fingering weight, DK weight, Aran weight, whatever weight you want to use, but these are different color combinations and single colors. So I'll have 1 color combination, 2 color combination, and 3 color combination recommendations on the first half from Hand Dyed Diva. The second half of the blog post will be more affordable yarns or lower price point yarns from other companies. Usually they're larger companies because they are the ones that are able to sell their yarn at a lower price point. But if you're looking for yarn in any of the weights, fingering, DK, and Aran weight, that will give you some guidance on other companies that you can shop with. And then you can use the yarn suggestions from Hand Dyed Diva to inspire your colors if you're looking for color inspiration. And then I'm always available for yarn support if you ever need anything during the pattern. I don't usually need a lot of books using that, but that is available. And as I mentioned, the tutorials are linked in the pattern. So if you're not familiar with the techniques used to make like the simple lace or the drop stitches, those are linked in the pattern for you to reference. And I think that's everything. I'm absolutely in love with this, in case you can't tell, and I hope you really have fun with this. I've been calling it a choose your own adventure style pattern because it's just so flexible and you can do so much. You could knit the pattern 12 different times and have a completely different project each time. So I just think it's so much fun. And oh, I was going to mention, I guess I don't have a whole lot to show you here, it's just the yarn, but I will be designing a cowl with the same effect. So it'll be in a mood cowl, same deal where you can use whatever weight you want, and then you can change your stitch motifs as often as you like, use as many colors as you like, but these are the yarns that I will be using for that. So keep your eyes peeled for that as well. I'll go ahead and have a pre-order available on Ravelry if you're interested in going ahead and purchasing both the shawl and the cowl at the same time. And then when you pre-order it, you will have it in your inbox. You'll get a message in your inbox on your email and on Ravelry when that is available. So if you're interested in learning more about or purchasing the pattern, I'll have it linked down in the description down below, and that brings you to the link on my website that has all of the information, has different photos, different things like that on my website, but then linked on there is where you can purchase it from Ravelry, from Etsy, from actually I don't think I have Etsy linked, Ravelry, Love Crafts, and my website. So then you can go from there to purchase the pattern. But if you have any questions at all, of course, leave those down in the comments down below. And I hope you have so much fun knitting this pattern, because it's just fun. I don't know what else to say about it, I guess. But thank you so much for joining me around here. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit like and subscribe to the channel. I have videos just like this for each of the patterns that I've designed, and I have the tutorials for different knitting techniques, specifically created for the beginner knitter, and so you can find those on my channel as well. But I hope to see you around, and happy knitting! I'll talk to you later.